Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. My name is Howard Pinsky, Senior XD Evangelist here at Adobe, and I am super excited to be here at this new time slot. It's different, isn't it? Usually I'm here at super early, 8:30 in the morning, but it's nice. I can sleep in. I don't have to wake up super early. I can slack all morning. It's great. So I hope you're all doing well. Everyone in the chat who's joining me live on Behance, including Anna and Andy, and Adobe Live, GusSpot is in the house. We've got Justin and Kevin, and Gabriel, and everyone else who's joining us. If you are tuning in live, let me know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I'm streaming live from mostly beautiful, sunny Los Angeles this morning, but I always love hearing where people are everywhere around the world. So we have some cool stuff coming up. If you joined me yesterday, we kind of kicked off the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge, but we don't unlock the first challenge until till Tuesday. Su Young is mentioning Dumbledore. I mentioned Dumbledore yesterday during the stream. And hey, Val, welcome. Hello from Michigan and Brooklyn and Portugal and Atlanta. This is so cool. Rio, British Columbia, Canada, fellow Canadian in the house. Awesome. So let me hop over to my screen, and here is the landing page for the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenge. And if you missed last week, and the week before, we had a Photoshop Daily Creative Challenge hosted by the awesome Voodoo Val, who is in here in the chat. And this week and next week it's XD, and then we're gonna go back to Photoshop, I believe. So if you haven't gone here yet, behance.net/Daily Creative Challenge. There's a big blue button at the top. If you haven't pressed that, I'm so excited about this big blue button, I can't speak. If you haven't pressed that big blue button, hit the big blue button. That way you know when we unlock new challenges every single morning at 8 o'clock. So every day you are going to receive a new challenge. That's number one. Number two, you're going to be joining me at 11:30 a.m. every single morning Pacific time. It's probably different where you are in the world. Oh man, more countries and more cities. Nigeria and India and Ukraine and Ireland. This is awesome. And Keita's asking what the challenge theme is. So this theme, the last one and the one before that, we had a progressive challenge. And we're mixing things up a little bit. We love the progressive theme, and we're definitely going to go back to it. But this time, we're going to do more like one-off challenges. So every day is going to be different. We're going to focus on interactions, auto-animate, that sort of thing, to kind of help you build up your skills when, designing smaller elements that you can use in your progressive challenges, which we'll definitely get back to. So you're going to join me at 11:30, and then you're going to share and publish your prototypes, whatever they might be, using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. That way I can hop into Behance every single day, find some of your awesome stuff, and showcase it live on stream. And then you have until April 29th, next Friday, to complete all the challenges. But as I mentioned every single day, we host these things to really help you build up your skills, learn something new. Maybe you've never used Adobe XD before. Let me know in the chat if you have never touched Adobe XD before. And if you haven't, I've got some good resources for you. I'll touch on in a second. But if you need a few extra days to polish up your designs, definitely take a few extra days. So down here, you can grab XD completely for free, and you can also join us on Discord. We have been using Slack up until now. We're trying something new, and you guys seem to like it quite a bit. I think we have over 1,500 people. We just launched the XD Discord yesterday, and there's over 1,500 people. There's 333 online right now, and there's well over 1,000 that are not online right now. Get online, come chat, introduce yourself, get feedback, ask questions. We got some great read-only channels in here where we're going to be posting pro tips and design inspirations, a lot of cool stuff. Peter Del Tondo is in the chat. He's also in Discord, one of our awesome mentors, including Chris Cannon and a few other Melody and a few others. It's always a good time in Discord, so definitely join us in there. And then down here, we have our challenges. And today's challenge number one of this month's XD Daily Challenge is to design a drop-down menu. And we're starting fairly basic, and we're gonna build up to some more advanced features, but starting with a drop-down menu. And the idea with these is that you can learn how to use some of this stuff and apply it to many of the projects that you might be working on. And then maybe once we get back to the progressive challenges, they might feel a little bit more comfortable. And if you are brand new to Adobe XD, I definitely want to plug this website, not only because I created it, but it's a great website. letsxd.com. It covers a lot of the basics importing your content from other applications like Photoshop and Illustrator, many of the awesome tools from Adobe XD, some cool interactions that you can create. And then if you don't have a lot of time, you can snack on some content, 1 minute long content. You can definitely dive in there, very quickly learn something new, and then come back to the longer stuff later on. And with the big update coming in May, in just a few weeks, there's gonna be a lot of good stuff on this website. So thank you, Val, for posting that in the chat. All right, so if you haven't done so already, definitely grab the template, press this button right here, download the template, and let me hop over to Adobe XD. And this is what your template looks like. It was provided by the awesome Marissa Blair, who's frequently in the chat. And if you haven't said thank you to her or said hello, if you see her, definitely say thank you to Marissa for providing not just this template, not just the 9 that we're going to be working with over the last few weeks or next few weeks, but also the ones that we've previously used. It's great. Alrighty, so let's take a look at this template. We have our challenge to create a drop-down menu. Pretty simple. There's a lot of resources in here that you can use to get started, from stock photos to icons to whatever it might be. And hey, to everyone who's just joining us, we also have some, some character styles, some colors. And what's cool about Adobe XD is if there's a color palette that you really like, what you can do, you can hop down here to the Assets panel, this button right here. Boop, there we go. And let's say you really like, let's go for this one, the modern look. I can select all these colors and just press the plus button beside colors, and it adds them all to my assets panel. And what's really nice, if you've never used Adobe XD before, you've seen this, let's assume for a second I'm using this color, this red color, on many places in my document. I can just go crazy and just add a bunch of, over here, boom. This will be like, let's say, the highlight color that my creative director wants me to use. And all of a sudden we have, let's say, a few or even dozens, if not hundreds of instances of this color spread out along my document. And my creative director comes to me and says, you know what? I'm not really digging that red color. Can you change it? Well, in some other applications, you'd have to go through and change every single button. Nobody wants to do that. But in XD, what you can do, you can just right click on a color in your assets panel, press edit, and change the colors. I want to go blue, and you're noticing everything is changing. It's super cool. And the same works with character styles. If you're working with symbols, you can easily swap those out. It's fun stuff. All right, so enough about that. If you're new to XD, there's definitely videos out there you can watch. But let's go ahead and take a look around. So we have some cards you can use. We have some templates for iPhones that you want to use. And then we have some inspiration over here. So, we're creating a fairly basic drop-down menu. And what I really want all of you to do is get super creative with this. I'm going to show you how to create something fairly basic, but also a little bit creative. And this is definitely more on the basic side. But when you're applying this to some of your projects, go crazy with it. Put it within a project you're already working on, or have fun with it. And I'm going to definitely check out some of the stuff that you're uploading starting tomorrow. So what are we doing today? We're going to pop our artboard on this side here, and bam, this is what I'm going to be working on today. So basically, again, I'm going to get a little bit creative with it, but still stick a little bit basic. And I'm going to create a little bit of a drop-down menu at this bottom section here. So someone would either click on top categories or the little chevron over here to the right, and it's going to reveal some of the top categories for this spending application. You may have seen me create some of this stuff from in the past, and if you want to see a little bit more, I'm going to be live on the Adobe XD Facebook page in just a few hours at 3:30. All right, so right underneath here, we're going to start creating a few elements. And this is basically going to highlight some of the top spending categories. I'm going to, let's say drag out a circle here. This will be just kind of a key. And we'll start using some of our colors over here to the right. So this is going to be, there we go. And over here, I'm going to just grab my text tool and let's say groceries. Pretty simple. We're starting off pretty basic, right? Put groceries right about there. That looks good. Maybe increase the text size a little bit. And what's cool about Adobe XD is there's, on point text, there's this little tiny handle. You can kind of see it right here. You can just use that, drag it up, drag it down, and it enlarges or shrinks. Perfect. All right, now to the right, we want some sort of a progress bar to show, what the progress is or how much you've spent. So I'm gonna drag my rectangle out just across my artboard like this. Pop it right about there. I do want the corners to be nice and round. So in XD, you have these little tiny dots on the inside. You can just whoop, drag it just like that. Perfect. So the inside is going to be a nice dark color. And the border, I'm going to darken it just a little bit as well, just so we can see some of it. And then inside, we want a colored shape. So I'm going to actually just duplicate this rectangle now that I have it here. And I'm going to make it nice and small. Just like this. I'm going to start everything out small, and then on the next artboard, we're going to enlarge it all, which is going to be fun. I'm going to turn off the border, and let's actually go ahead and make, for this one, we will make a little bit of a gradient. So I'm going to click on Fill to the right. I'm going to set to Linear Gradient. I'll make sure it's going horizontally, just like this. Perfect. And I'm going to sample some of these colors down here. So for the left color, I'm going to grab my eyedropper. Let's sample this one here. And then for the right color, we'll do a little bit of a darker purple. All right. And when eventually we're going to extend it, it's going to look kind of neat. All right. So there's one. I'm going to, now, right now, I'm not going to be using a repeat grid. Usually I would, but because we're going to have different sized elements, like these ones are going to enlarge. We can't do that just yet. Maybe in the future, maybe in the near future, who knows? But for now, I'm just going to duplicate this down. I'm going to change the color of this dot. Let's go for a green maybe. And this will be, we'll go for electronics. Now I am noticing I probably have to adjust some things, so I'm going to just grab these guys and move them in a little bit, and responsive resize is on, so things move really nicely across the document. And the next one I'm going to do is one of my favorites, burritos. And let me know in the chat if you are a big fan of burritos. I cannot get enough of burritos. I try in every single mock-up that I do, I have to put burritos in there. Alrighty. Yeah, Chris is pumped for the symbols update. I've been using the symbols update for quite a while, and I'm always finding new ways to utilize what's coming. I can't wait to, I recorded the first video this week. I can't wait to show it to you. All right, so now we have our top categories. What we want to do, we don't want to show it by default. We want it to be able to kind of expand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a mask over top of it. So I'm going to just grab my rectangle, drag a mask over top of my dropdown, just like this. And I want a little bit of room to expand it. So I'm going to just drop it right about there. And in my layers panel, I want to make sure, let me actually hide this. I want to make sure to group all this fun stuff because my layers are kind of all over the place. So this is going to be groceries, right? And this one is going to be group, Command and Control G to group, electronics. Spelling is great, but sometimes my brain moves much faster than my hands. And this one is burritos. I did it again. All right. What about pineapple pizza? I like pineapple pizza. I do. I know some people have different opinions on that, but I like it. All right. So with my mask over top of the categories, I'm going to select all of them. So I select the mask. I've also selected all three categories. Then up in the object menu, I'm going to go down to mask with shape. If you are on Windows, you would simply right click on that stack on your artboard and you'll see mask with shape pop up in the little properties. So now that everything is masked, we don't want it to show by default. So I'm going to grab my mask inside of this group or the shape and then just drag it up. And that's basically going to hide everything within that mask because I've dragged that rectangle up. So now that we've done that, we need state number 2 to actually expand this drop-down menu. So what I'm going to do, select the artboard, Command or Control D to duplicate it over to the right. And now we can start working on the second state. And that's the cool thing about Adobe XD is all you have to do is design both states. And eventually, once we get to it, Auto Animate will just do the rest. So I'm going to hop into my layers, expand the group, find the shape that's masking everything, and enlarge it. And now everything will be displayed. But obviously, we want to get a little bit creative with this. So what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of drag these down, and I'm doing this. I selected all the groups in my layers panel, and because responsive resize is on, when I drag downwards, everything resizes really nicely and is evenly spaced from each other. I also want to adjust my spending. So groceries, I spent a little bit on groceries. I probably spent way too much on electronics, and because I spent so little on groceries, I definitely spent a lot on burritos. So there are my three categories. We've basically expanded them from this one. And let me show you again what that looked like. It looks like that, so everything's kind of collapsed very close to each other, and in the second state, everything's has been expanded, and you know, the spending is a little bit different. So, or larger, whatever the word is. We also may want to, we have this little chevron here, we may want to, you know, when someone clicks on it, it's going to spin around. So I'm simply going to flip it. I can either flip it right up here, I can just press the flip vertical button, it's gonna flip it upside down, or I can actually rotate it, let's say 180 degrees. That way when Auto Animate takes control, it's actually going to spin it around, which is gonna be kind of cool. All right, so now that the two states are complete, what we wanna do, we wanna actually animate this thing and see it in action. Andy approves of the spending. I do too. I'm a big fan of spending way too much money on burritos. Anyway, so I'm gonna hop into prototype mode, and what we want someone when they click on the little chevron over here to the right, and we can also, you know what, let's go back. Because that chevron's very small, we may want to have an invisible space over top of it, or actually group these together. So I'm gonna select the tag and the top categories, and simply group them together. And this will be called top categories. Spelling is difficult when you're streaming. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing here because it's very important that when you are changing groups, changing layer names, and you want to auto animate, the layer names and the groups have to be consistent across both artboards. So I can do the same thing, I'm gonna group it and name this top categories. There we go. Perfect. All right, so now that that's done, we're gonna go back into prototype mode. We're gonna select this entire group because we want a user to be able to click on either the text or the chevron. And we're gonna drag this little blue handle, as you can see right here, over to the right to the second artboard. And we want a user to be able to tap on it. We don't want to worry about drag or voice at the moment. We do want to select auto animate because transition, if you've never used XD before, will essentially give you a few options. You can either dissolve or just cut to the next artboard, or you can have it slide or push left, right, up, or down. But we want auto animate. And again, we're telling XD when we select auto animate to look at the differences between the two artboards and animate what it sees, right? So we're gonna do, let's say we'll do an in and out for now. It's also making me hungry. We also have a few other easing options, snap, wind up, or bounce, but we'll stick to in and out. It's pretty basic, kind of curves at the beginning, curves at the end, and then we'll set the duration of 0.8 seconds, not too fast, not too slow. Let's see how this looks. So we're gonna press the play button, this one right up here at the top right, and here's our prototype. And if all goes well, when we click on the top categories, there we go, it slides out, and we can also link it back. So I'm gonna go over to this group here, link this back. It's gonna maintain the properties from the last one, and I can press play. Whoop, and there it goes. And because we had everything collapsed in the first example, everything kind of just works, which is kind of cool. Now, I'm looking at this, I'm looking at my design, and I want to make a few changes, right? I'm noticing that the groceries, you know, it's lowercase, I want uppercase. Right now, at least at the moment, at least in this month, we don't have a button to make everything uppercase. It may be coming at some point in the near future. But what I can do is I can actually use, we have a plugin. Do I have it here? I do not have it here, but I can use the change case. I can just use case. There we go. I can install the change case plugin, and this will allow me to very quickly change the case on all of these. So I can go to plugins, change case, uppercase. Perfect. And I'm going to move it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. All right. Sneaks? I don't know. Did I sneak something? I'm not quite sure. I may have. I may have not. Who knows? I can do the same thing for these ones over here. Oops, I missed it. Groceries, oh, I missed it again. Burritos. Electronics. And I'm holding down Command or Control and then Shift and then clicking on the other one so I can select multiple elements throughout multiple groups. And again, same thing, change case, uppercase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and make sure to collapse my lovely mask just like this. That way, everything kind of matches up with the rest of my design. Expands. It's still a little bit too close, so what I might want to do is just, you know, grab some of these and move them over. Of course, once the symbols update does launch, this will be so much easier because you can basically have one symbol and you'll be able to update all of this stuff, which is going to be super cool. Well, I'll just leave it like that for now. All right. So now that that's done, let's take a look one more time. Expand it. Everything kind of flies out. Pop it back in. And Damien didn't know about plugins. Yeah, you should definitely start exploring some plugins. There are some amazing plugins within Adobe XD. Undraw is one of my favorite ones that I've been using. But yeah, it's good stuff. So now at this point, what we might want to do is keep getting creative. So when someone maybe taps on burritos, things are going to change. Maybe the chart's going to change to show what your spending of just burritos looks like. So I'm going to duplicate this artboard one more time over to the right, and we want to make some changes. So maybe someone's going to tap on burritos. Maybe the other ones are going to, let's say, electronics and groceries. You might want to turn down the opacity just a little bit. And burritos is going to be the highlight item. And for this over here, this chart, I'm going to simply grab the line and double click on it. That will allow me to edit these points. And now I can move all these around. So maybe this day I spent a lot on burritos. This day, not so much. Yep, there we go. Just moving these points around. Just like that. And maybe to keep consistency, I can change the color of the border to match my burritos. There we go. And I want to make sure to also update this. So I can do the same thing, change the border color like that. And maybe I'll even do this. And the shortcut key for the eyedropper tool is I. Perfect. Yeah, Kyle, definitely install Undraw. Very quickly, I'll just show you. It's there's all these amazing, very simple illustrations, and you can just use them in your projects for clients or personal use or whatever it might be. It's super cool. A lot of people are starting to animate some of these things, which is nice. All right, so there we go. Andy's asking auto animate on color. Maybe soon. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but that might come at some point in the future. I know it's pretty tricky to do, but you know. So this will be, let's say, $49 on burritos. That's a lot of money on burritos, but we're gonna move all this stuff down, pop it right about there. Great. And now, just like we did before, all we have to do is wire this thing up. So if someone clicks on the burritos group, just like this, select burritos, drag this over to the right. Hey Sam, welcome. This will be tap, auto animate, ease in and out, all that fun stuff. So let's see it from the beginning. We're gonna press play. Top categories, we're gonna expand it. Everything's gonna go from a collapsed state to an enlarged state. And we're gonna tap on burritos, and the chart is going to change. Now I am noticing a few things that didn't look super correct. So this over here, the text, because the text changed, you're noticing now in the layers panel it's 49 and previously it was 68. Now because the layer names of that text layer changed, XD is getting a little bit confused. So what we're going to do in the layers panel, we're going to name this, let's name this amount. Again, you want to make sure to keep all your layer names up to date. Amount, and we'll go to the first artboard, even though it's not moving, just to keep consistency. Amount, there we go. And one cool tip, a few months ago, we launched search within the layers panel. So if you didn't know where that 68 was, or you want to find them all quickly, right now it's amount, but I can just type in amount and it'll show me all those layers that have the word amount in it, which is super nice. So now that those text layers are the same, I can press on top categories to expand it, press on burritos, and everything moves as it should. And from here, we can do one more just to wrap things up. Maybe burritos. We'll do electronics. Drag this up to 100%. This one will be 27%. It's a very specific number, right? And then we'll just go to town on this chart. Change the border color to green. Change all these lovely colors to green as well. The text. Bam. And then we will go one more time and modify this. Move that up, move this down, move everything all around. You get the idea, right? And hopefully as I'm doing this, you're kind of getting some ideas on what you're going to do for your drop-down menu. And again, make sure to share it on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Challenge. And this will be 29. All right, let's very quickly wire this up and then we will get out of here. So we'll click on electronics, bam, let's preview this, bam, top categories, burritos, electronics, and we are done. So that will do it for today's XD Daily Creative Challenge. Make sure to go to the landing page, grab the template, publish on Behance using the keyword XD Daily Creative Challenge or XD Daily Challenge, whatever it is. It's on that page, I promise. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Definitely stick around. Peck is coming up. He's going to be using XD to design some case studies, which is going to be kind of cool. So stick around for that. I will see you all tomorrow morning, 11:30 again, kicking off day 2 of the XD Daily Challenge. I'll see you all later.